Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sunny English Bite. I'm your host, Sunny, and I'm so glad you could join us today. We have a very special topic, one that I think almost everyone can relate to in some way. It's a topic that brings up feelings of nostalgia, happiness, and maybe even a little bit of sadness. Today, we're going to talk about first love.
That's a big one, Sonny. First love. Just saying the words brings back a flood of memories, doesn't it? It's one of those universal human experiences that seems to stick with us forever, no matter how old we get. I'm really curious to explore why that is.
Exactly. It has this powerful hold on our memory. I think it's because it's a time of so many firsts. The first time you feel those butterflies in your stomach, the first time you hold someone's hand and feel a spark, the first time you feel your heart break. It's all so new and intense.
Right, it's pure emotion without much logic or past experience to guide you. It's a very raw and honest feeling, and I think that's why it leaves such a deep impression on who we become.
Well said. And for any new listeners joining us for the first time, welcome again to Sunny English Bite. This is a podcast designed to help you improve your English in the most natural way possible by listening to real, authentic conversations.
That's right. We believe the best way to learn a language is to hear it used in context with all the natural pauses, emotions, and expressions that come with it. My name is Alex, and I'm here with Sunny to share these conversations with you.
In today's episode on First Love, you'll get to practice your listening skills with a very emotional and story-driven topic. You'll hear lots of vocabulary related to feelings and relationships, and you'll see how we use storytelling to connect with each other. It's a great way to learn conversational English that you won't find in textbooks.
So let's dive in. First love, Sunny. What do you think people remember most about it? Is it the person, the feeling, a specific moment?
That's a great question. I think for many people, it's the intensity of the feelings. Everything feels so magnified, so important. A simple smile from your first crush could make your whole day. A short 5-minute conversation could be something you replay in your head for weeks.
Right, the small moments become huge. I think it's because your brain has no other romantic experiences to compare it to. This is the blueprint. This is what you think love is in its most concentrated form.
The blueprint, I love that. And it's often called puppy love, especially when we're very young. The term suggests it's not serious, that it's immature. But when you're in it, it feels like the most serious thing in the world.
It absolutely does. And how does that feeling differ from the love we experience later in life? I think a big part of it is the innocence. There are no walls up. You haven't been hurt before, so you give your whole heart without fear. We say someone is head over heels in love, and that phrase really captures that feeling of losing all control.
Yeah, head over heels. You're completely lost in the feeling. Later relationships are wonderful, but they are different. They involve more thought, more planning. You think about compatibility, life goals, all the practical things.
There's more baggage, as they say.
Exactly. Baggage refers to all our past experiences and emotional issues that we carry with us. With first love, your suitcase is empty. It's just you and this overwhelming new emotion.
I think about those classic first love stories, like the first crush. It's often from a distance, isn't it? You admire someone, you think they are perfect, but you're too shy to even speak to them.
Oh, definitely. My first crush, I remember I would plan my entire route between classes just to have a chance of walking past him in the hallway. I never even said hi. It was all about that one little moment of seeing him. It was enough.
That's so relatable. And then there's the first confession, the moment you decide to tell someone how you feel. The courage that takes is enormous. Your heart is pounding, you can't breathe.
Whether it goes well or not, that moment is unforgettable. And it teaches you so much about being vulnerable, about putting yourself out there.
It does. And on the flip side, there's the first heartbreak.
The first heartbreak. It feels like your world is ending, because in a way, the world you knew has ended. You didn't know you could feel that much pain.
Yeah, and you have no experience to tell you that you'll survive it, that you'll feel okay again. So you just have to go through it. But even that pain is part of why first love is so memorable. It's a powerful, formative experience.
It really is. The memory becomes bittersweet. It's a wonderful word. Bitter because of the sadness or the way it ended, but sweet because of the beautiful feelings and memories you had. It's a mix of both.
I wonder if there are cultural differences in how people experience this. In some cultures, dating is very open from a young age. In others, it's much more private or even forbidden until you're older. That must change the experience.
That's a really interesting point. If it's a secret, maybe the feelings become even stronger, even more intense because it's a hidden world only you and that person know about. Or maybe it's more about longing and imagination than actual interaction.
Right. The story you build in your head can become more powerful than the reality. Which brings up another question I've always thought about. Is first love more about the actual person, or is it more about the timing and the emotions we were experiencing for the first time?
That's deep. It's like asking, were we in love with them or were we in love with the idea of being in love?
Exactly. Maybe that person was just the catalyst. They were the one who happened to be there when our hearts were ready to experience those feelings. We project all our ideals and dreams onto them.
I think that's very true. Often, when people meet their first love again years later, the magic is gone, not because the person has changed, but because we have. We're no longer that innocent person with an empty suitcase. We see them as a real, flawed human being, not the perfect image we held in our minds.
So, in a way, first love is a story we tell ourselves about ourselves. It's about who we were at that moment in time. The person is the co star, but we are the main character, discovering a whole new part of our own emotional world.
That's a beautiful way to put it. The co star in the story of our own awakening. And it's a story we look back on with warmth because it reminds us of a time when we felt things so purely.
And it's not a bad thing that it ends. Most first loves don't last, and maybe they're not supposed to. Their purpose is to teach us, to open our hearts, to prepare us for the different kinds of love that come later.
I agree. It's a chapter, not the whole book. A very important, beautiful, and sometimes painful chapter that shapes the rest of the story.
A perfect summary. We've been talking about this in pretty abstract terms, exploring the why. But I'm curious, Sunny, do you have a specific story that really stands out for you? A first confession, maybe, that captures that awkwardness and intensity we've been discussing?
You're putting me on the spot. But yes, a story does come to mind. It was mortifyingly awkward at the time, but looking back, it was also incredibly sweet. His name was Jamie, and we were in the same science class. I had the biggest, most cinematic crush on him. I spent a solid week drafting and redrafting a confession note, filling it with cheesy poetry and song lyrics.
Oh, the classic note. I respect the courage. A handwritten note feels like such a relic of the past now, but it's so personal and terrifying. Though, what happened? They'll leave me hanging.
Well, the execution was a complete disaster. My brilliant plan was to casually slip the note into his science textbook before class. But my hands were shaking so much that when he turned around unexpectedly, I just froze. My brain went completely blank, and I dropped the note right at his feet. It was this perfectly folded up piece of notebook paper with little hearts drawn on the corners. There was absolutely no plausible deniability.
No, that's a scene straight out of a teen movie. The suspense is killing me. What did he do? What did you do?
He just looked at the note on the floor, then at my bright red, horrified face, and he started to laugh. And it wasn't a mean laugh at all. It was this kind, gentle, amused laugh. He picked it up, unfolded it, and read the whole cringy, poetry-filled thing right there in front of me. After a moment that felt like an eternity, he looked up, smiled, and said, I'm not much of a poet, but I was thinking of asking you to the movies on Friday. It was the sweetest, most direct response to my overly dramatic, poorly executed confession.
Wow, that's incredibly sweet. He handled that perfectly, turning a moment of potential humiliation into something genuinely charming. My big first was on the other end of the spectrum, a first heartbreak. Her name was Clara. We dated for a whole 6 months, which felt like a lifetime at 16.
6 months is an eternity in high school. So what happened?
It was a slow fade, really. She started hanging out with a new group of friends, and I could feel her slipping away. The breakup itself was just a short, painful conversation where she delivered the classic soul crushing line, "I think we should just be friends." For months, I was completely devastated. I analyzed every single interaction, trying to pinpoint what I did wrong. I was convinced it was all my fault.
Oh, that's so tough. That feeling of self-blame is often the most painful part of a first heartbreak because you have no other experience to tell you that it's not your fault.
Exactly. But the lesson came about a year later. I realized it wasn't about anything I did wrong. We were just two kids growing in different directions. The lesson wasn't about how to keep someone from leaving, it was that sometimes people just change, and that's okay. It taught me about acceptance and the importance of not losing yourself in a relationship. It was a painful but vital lesson in emotional resilience.
That's a really mature takeaway. And it's interesting how our personal stories are shaped by the scripts we see around us. That brings me back to the cultural differences we touched on. In a lot of American movies, first love is about the grand gesture, the boombox outside the window, the big public confession at a football game.
Right, the Hollywood version of love. It sets an expectation that love has to be this dramatic cinematic event, this grand declaration of feelings. But that's not the only script out there. I've been watching a lot of K dramas recently, and their portrayal of first love is often very different, which really puts our Western tropes into perspective.
How so? What are the big differences you've noticed?
It's often a much slower burn. It's about longing, unspoken feelings, and the idea of a fated connection, or yin yan as they call it. It's less about a single grand gesture and more about a series of small, meaningful moments that build over time. There's also a heavier emphasis on external factors like family approval or societal expectations, which adds a whole different layer of drama and tension.
That's a fantastic point. It's not just East versus West either. Think of classic European literature. First love is often portrayed as this tragic, all-consuming force that leads to ruin. It's passionate and beautiful, but also dangerous. These narratives absolutely shape our subconscious expectations. We go into it thinking it has to be a movie, a K-drama, or a sweeping tragedy.
And when reality turns out to be just quiet and a bit awkward, we can feel like we're doing it wrong. It makes me think about that fundamental question again, the one we touched on earlier. Is it really about the person, or is it more about the timing?
I knew you'd bring that up again. I think my story with Jamie makes me lean towards it being about the person. Another guy could have laughed at me or been cruel, but he was kind. His specific personality is what made that moment a sweet memory instead of a traumatic one. I don't think just any person could have filled that role.
I see your point, but I'm going to argue for timing. My experience with Clara taught me that we were both at an age where change was inevitable. We were primed for that experience of growing apart. She was the person who was there for that lesson, but the lesson itself was about a stage of life. I was ready to learn about heartbreak, and she was the catalyst. If it hadn't been her, it would have been someone else soon after.
Though you think we're just vessels for these experiences, waiting for someone to come along and activate them?
In a way, yes, at least at that age. We're a collection of firsts waiting to happen. The first rush of butterflies, the first handhold, and the first heartbreak. The person is the co-star, like we said, but the main event is the feeling itself, which is a product of our own biological and emotional development. It's happening inside us.
But I still think you're selling the co-star short. The person is the mirror. Who they are reflects a part of us back at ourselves. Damie's kindness reflected my own desire for a gentle and genuine connection, not just a dramatic movie-like romance. Your experience with Clara reflected your own journey towards independence and understanding that people can grow apart. The person matters because they help define the what of the lesson, not just the fact that a lesson was learned. Speaking of feelings and powerful stories, if you're enjoying this conversation and it's bringing back some memories for you, we would be so grateful if you took a moment to support our channel.
Right. You can help us a lot by hitting the like button and subscribing to Sunny English Bite on YouTube. It helps our channel reach more English learners like you.
And we believe that connecting with emotional topics like this one is a fantastic way to learn. When you feel something, you remember it. The vocabulary sticks with you because it's tied to a real emotion.
That's very true. And we have many more of these conversations planned for the future. We'll be talking about topics like the difference between love and loneliness, relationships that changed us, and memories we never forget. So if you subscribe, you won't miss out.
What a journey this conversation has been. We've talked about how first love is so intense and memorable because it's a time of so many firsts, filled with pure, unfiltered emotion.
We also reflected on how it's different from later loves, perhaps more innocent and less complicated by life experience, or what we called baggage.
And we ended on that really thoughtful question about whether it's truly about the other person or more about who we were and what we were ready to feel at that specific time in our life.
And that's the question I'd like to leave with our listeners today. Take a moment to think about your own experience. Do you think first love is about the person or about who you were back then? There's no right or wrong answer, of course, just something to reflect on.
A perfect thought to end on. Thank you all so much for listening and for sharing this time with us. We hope you felt connected to the conversation and learned some new things along the way.
It was a pleasure. Until next time, take care.
Goodbye, everyone. We'll see you in the next episode of Sunny English Bite.